Hey guys, what's going on? Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Experiences with Sadiq is about all things real estate. A show where communication is key, advocating for the people's bliss, and knowledge it's inspiring. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the show. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. Whether you're buying or selling a home, I'm that guy. Let's go! Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your man Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq, where communication is key, advocating for the people's bliss, and knowledge is inspiring. Today, we have a great guest. His name is Alan B. Gammons Jr. This guy's been in the industry for some time now, actually for a while. Alan, welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Please introduce yourself, talk to the people, and let them know what you do.
Hey, thank you for inviting me onto your episode here. Yeah, so my name's Alan Gammons. I've been a licensed real estate agent since 1992. Started out a very small company and then worked my way through a couple of different offices, Remax for one, and then I started my own company in 1999, something like that, and evolved into a Prudential franchise, and then ultimately a Berkshire Hathaway franchise, which is where we are now. So after about, 28 years or so in the business, sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,500 homes in condominiums in Rhode Island since the start of my career. I have just recently turned over the ropes of the company to a larger Berkshire Hathaway franchise out of Massachusetts, and I'm back to my roots, just selling houses, and it's what I like to do.
Nice. Well, welcome to Experiences with Sadiq, Alan. Now, Experiences with Sadiq, we basically the viewers want to be able to get insights in regards to your career path in the industry, right? So I guess one of my first questions to you, Alan, is basically what was some of the downfalls or the pitfalls that you went through in the beginning to be able to have a successful career path right now?
So some of the pitfalls, okay, so even after 28 years, there's still pitfalls. And, we're in a constantly changing industry. One of the things that I did when I first started out with my career was I spent way too much time and money on print advertising and marketing. And even though we were very, very successful, I was spending a way too large a percentage of my income on print advertising. So that's one of the things that early on I started to shift into online and digital advertising. Even way back when the internet was just getting started in the 90s. I had a web page. Believe it or not, I had a web page when no one knew what that was. And, I used to have billboards all over Rhode Island that said, "Show your home to the world, www.alangammons.com." And I'd have people ask me, "What the heck is this www crap?" Now, after 28 years and millions of dollars invested in websites, web pages, and web advertising, it's come full circle. I do almost zero print advertising now. I mean, I have a few publications that I'll pop in and out of frequently, but no, I definitely recognize the value of presenting my clients' properties in a format where buyers control what they're looking at and have the amount of time that they want to spend looking online and whatnot. So we've really shifted to a platform that allows us to really showcase the homes in the people's living room. So before they know the houses, before they even get there, it's really sometimes buyers really don't have an idea of neighborhoods and things like that. So we try to put as much information, not just about the house, but where they are and who the builders were and where the schools are and whatnot, so that people can do an awful lot of their pre-buying looking online.
What did you do to actually get yourself in a more successful position?
So I think one of the most important things that I started out doing early on and continue to do to this day is I treat every transaction as if it's the only transaction happening. I treat whether it's a $100,000 buyer or a $5 million buyer, they get the same amount of attention. They get the same amount of Alan. I built my business on referral business. I sometimes I don't even know where I get people call me up and they say, so-and-so referred me to you. And I don't even know who the people are who referred me. It's it might've been 4 years ago, my constant contact with my clients I think is really critical, because we're in an industry where there's a lot more people than there are transactions. I mean, we all know that there are a lot of agents out there that only do a transaction or two a year, and not that there's anything wrong with someone that's only doing a transaction or two a year, but they're really not dialed into the market. They're not dialed into what's really happening. So being in touch and treating each transaction as if it was the only transaction happening really goes a long way with the sellers, especially, and with the buyers. A lot of what we used to do is being done before we ever meet our buyers. They're looking and researching. They already know where they want to go. They already know the houses they want to see. So being knowledgeable when you're showing a house about things that they might not be seeing on the internet. What's the story with the school system? How far is the bus stop? Are there kids in the neighborhood? Things, the walk score, things like that. I even try to find out who the builders are of a house, so I might be able to say, oh, I knew this builder. He was really prolific in the 1960s, or that kind of thing. So having knowledge that's outside of what they're already seeing online, I think, is critical. And buyers walk away when they're doing a transaction with me knowing that I've been working for them, that, my intentions are to make the transaction not only a pleasurable one, but make sure that there are as few, if any, hiccups along the way.
The majority of the transactions you deal with, you can have hiccups, and then there are those that just easy peasy transactions. Those tend to be the ones that we love. Transactions that are quick and fast and just easy to deal with. How do you go about, overcoming those difficult transactions to turn them around to be probably the best transactions for you at the end of the day?
Well, the truth of the matter is, Sadiq, that you can't always have everybody happy at the end.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing the things the right way and doing things the right way all the time, people make mistakes, whether it be the buyer, the seller, the mortgage broker, the real estate attorney, the realtor on the buying end or the selling end. Mistakes are made. I've made them. You've made them. It's just how you walk through it. I see some agents get all blown up and angry at each other, and even the agents that I don't particularly like, I'm nicer to them than the ones that I do like, because I think it's important that you try to keep the transaction as to what it is. It's a real estate transaction. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, and we want to do what's right for our clients. So when you get yourself into a trap, you compartmentalize the situation and try to figure out what is the best thing for your client. And it's not always cut and dry. It's this way or that way. Sometimes it's a negotiation, but keeping a cool head, knowing the laws, knowing what the buyers and sellers' rights are. Just because they have a right doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. Sometimes I've had situations where people have to compromise, but I always try to stay on the cool side, because you have to fight sometimes, and you have to grapple with circumstances, but getting agitated and angry about it doesn't help anybody's situation. So one of the things that I've learned to do over the years is write an email and then wait 15 minutes before I send it if it's going to be a strong email. Because sometimes after 15 minutes of looking at it, you say, maybe I didn't want to say it that way. And emails are permanent, they're not going to go away. So
exactly.
I make sure. In fact, I often review emails for other agents in this company. They'll say to me, "Can you look at this before I send it?" And it's a good idea to if it's not me, to send it to somebody that's had experience, especially if you're new in the industry, because like I said, emails are permanent. You make a mistake in an email, it could come back to haunt you in a number of ways. It could be an agency situation. Let me shut this off. It could be an agency situation. It could be a legal situation, and it's something that if you're going to put it in writing, you better be prepared to own it.
No, definitely. I could definitely relate to that part of it, because I had a situation a while ago where the client kind of felt like they felt a certain way in regards to their transaction. They pretty much wasn't happy in regards to their transaction. And it took me a while. And that in the beginning, I was telling myself, you know what? This client that I'm dealing with, she's at fault, you know. But at the end of the day, I guess as entrepreneurs, as realtors, you know, I've came to conclusion to tell myself specifically, like, you know what, you as an agent, you as an entrepreneur, you as a businessman, you are working with your client, right? Even if you think your client is that wrong for whatever he, she, or did, for whatever he or she did, at the end of the day, it's a service that you're providing them. Right. So if that client wasn't happy with your service, then do what you need to do to try and make them happy and please them. So I told myself, you know what, she might not be happy, but let me make it up. So I wrote to the office manager. I'm like, listen, send the client or the higher up individuals, the people at the top in the office, send them an email. Let them know that I personally, from my end, for the situation that occurred in the transaction with this specific individual, that I am willing to, you know, cut half of the cost, take care of it from my end, you know, just because I felt like at the end of the day, the client is right, you know. And there are going to be situations where clients are not always right. But one thing that I've learned, I guess, growing up and just seeing how other entrepreneurs operate and what made them successful is that no matter what, the clients are always right and they should always be right. So I totally do get it.
Yeah, one of the things you never want to do, especially verbally or in an email, is tell your client they're wrong. You can disagree with them, but be very diplomatic about it. And I've used the words like, I understand your position, but this is how I see it. Or from my side of the table, and, you know, from years of experience, this is the way I think it's going to go down, regardless of what you and I think. This is what's happening. What we like and what we think and what we do is not necessarily what's going to happen. You know, so by wording it correctly and saying softly, you know. So I'll give you an example. We recently had a transaction, a very high level transaction in the 600s. At the 11th hour, the buyer had a mortgage commitment that was subject to getting an IRS transcript from the IRS, and we shut down because of the COVID. So at the 2 days before the closing, we don't have a clear to close because we're still waiting for an IRS transcript. We asked for an extension. We received an extension. And then right after we received the extension, the buyer lost his job, or was furloughed. So even if we got the transcript, this loan was going to be denied because they couldn't verify employment. So the seller in this particular transaction had an attorney for a father, who basically took the position that, well, they're going to lose their deposit and we're going to sue them for any damages, you know, if we have to sell it for less. And I was very respectful, and I said to him, look, we are in uncharted waters here, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not going to say you're wrong, but here's what I see. Here's how I see it. These people are going to be denied their mortgage based on situation that we've never come across. And until we get into a courtroom, which could be years from now, it doesn't really matter who's right or wrong at this point. I personally think that there's not going to be a judge in the world out there that is going to make this family forfeit their deposit because of things that happened in, you know,
acts of God.
An act of God. And he said, well, it says right here that they have to close, and if they don't close, and, you know, he went down through that. And I said, I understand what you're saying. I understand you're an attorney, and I understand you've got a lot more experience in the courtroom than I do, but I think this is uncharted waters, and you both should really look at that. And in the long run, it didn't end up being a great situation for either the buyer or the seller, because the transaction didn't close. The buyers didn't have a place to go to. The sellers had moved out of their house already, moved into a new house, and nobody won. But the point I was trying to make is, I was getting my seller's attorney saying, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to take this. We're going to take that. Their deposit's gone. We're going to sue them for this. And I just basically said, instead of saying, look, you're wrong, I said, this is kind of how I see it. We're in uncharted waters. As much as I'd like to have this deal closed, and I'd like to see everybody happy and settled in their beds, this is not going to happen. And I think that we really need to put the parties together and figure out what is an equitable solution. And that's what happened. It really, the sellers did lose some, the buyers did lose some money, and the sellers did have to put the house back on the market. But I told them both, I said, if this gets to be a litigious situation, no one's going to win. And again, being uncharted waters, I was just giving my opinion without saying they were wrong. So kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Of course. Now, let me ask you this, Alan. In regards to the other realtors that are coming into the industry, or those that are thinking about getting into the industry, what type of advice point would you like to share with these new up and coming realtors?
Well, I think that if I had to start all over again, and there was things that I would do differently, then there's not a lot, to be honest with you. I think that one of the things that I would definitely do is keep a better track of the people that I've done business with over time. Because I was a successful realtor, because I was doing a high volume, it was less important for me from a business standpoint to keep the ongoing dialogue with my sellers after it closed. Now, looking back now, I'm seeing houses, that I sold 10 years ago come back on the market with people that, and I might not have ever spoken to those people again, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like low hanging fruit. It doesn't take anything to really have some sort of a contact manager, sending out Christmas cards, sending out the anniversary of the closing of your house, things like that I think as busy as I still am, I think I would be busier if I was better at maintaining the relationships that I already have, because those are trees, as roots, and the people that do business with you, that like you, they like to refer you. I mean, I look at my business, I refer the same plumber all the time, I refer the same movers all the time, because they do a good job, they make me look good. I think that buyers and sellers tend to feel the same way about their realtors. If they like you, they want you to have more business. And if you've done a good job for them, keeping in touch with them, I think is important. That is one of the things that I have done over the years, but not done well enough.
That's really deep. That's really, really deep, because I think I myself, who started in this industry, I try to pride myself on customer service for the most part. And I always think to myself, well, like, if you are actually seeing, and you saw the work that I had to put in, I'm still putting in work, because obviously I'm nowhere next to your level of success, or some other big realtors' level of success. But you guys actually did the due diligence. You guys already planted the seed. And you guys already saw your seed sprout, grow into a tree. Now you have branches coming off, and then you have other. So you guys went through that whole process, which is where I'm trying to get to. And I totally get it, and I totally understand it. And like, I think that's one of the things that I personally am really trying to focus on, is like clients that I've dealt with, and I'm done with, currently going through closing process and stuff like that, is those are the individuals that I want to, I guess, definitely keep them in the closed pocket, but always make sure that they're being taken care of no matter what, especially if they have questions. Always try to attend to their questions and meet that expectation that they are expecting from you as, quote unquote, the professional. So I totally do get it. Alan, talk to the people, let the people know how can they get a hold of you if they ever need any sort of advice or any type of work or any type of business transaction from you. Talk to them.
Well, I mean, obviously they can get to me through you. My office is right here on Main Street in Xperiences, and I'll be glad to help with anything I possibly can. And I just want you to know, one of the things, and any other newer agent, I think that people forget that when they don't have a business in place, or they're just getting started. You're not just getting started. You're actually doing fantastic. And I've seen you do things that I've never seen anybody do in my career. And I commend you for that. But, you're talking about branches and seeds and roots. My largest source of business in 28 years of selling real estate has been my family, my children. And I say that because I'm still doing business with people I met when my kids were in preschool. So the people I met when my kids were in preschool were my sphere of influence. They became my friends because of my kids. Now, from where you're sitting in your desk, your sphere of influence is your neighbors, it's your kids' parents, your kids' friends' parents, it's your church members. People that are successful in real estate aren't afraid to ask for business and tell people what they do. I have people who've worked for me that have gone to open houses 17 weeks in a row and never walked away with an offer because they don't ask for business. They don't talk about what they do. They don't offer to go above and beyond. You need to reach down into your being and realize what you're doing is a service to your clients, and it's also something to be very proud of. And when you're talking to people at a softball game or you're talking to people at a soccer game, you ask them where they live. Oh, I sold a house in that neighborhood, or I have friends that live in that neighborhood. If you ever know anybody that's thinking of selling, this is what I do. Here's my card. And it's not like hokey. You don't have to say, oh, sell your house. People want to do business with you if they like you, and I don't care what you do, where you live. You could be living in a trailer park in Oklahoma. There's business that comes out of that trailer park in Oklahoma. There's people I know that have got in the business that say, oh, I only want to sell $1 million houses. Those are the people that fail quick. $1 million houses do get sold and people do get into that price range, but it's the first time buyers that create businesses and because those people they buy. I have people I've sold 6-7 houses to in 28 years. I have houses that I call annuities. I did a subdivision in North Kingstown where every house in that neighborhood I've sold at least twice, and one of them I sold 5 times. So that neighborhood was built in 97, 98 in that area. So yeah, I appreciate you inviting me, and I do offer to you and anyone who's interested. My cell phone number is 742-6050. Call me if you have any questions. Sadiq, I appreciate you inviting me here, and I wish you well.
Thank you very much. Definitely thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming onto the platform as well, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, because people really need to hear that. They need to hear what it takes from start to finish. And I think someone of your caliber who's been in the industry for so long definitely has that knowledge and that expertise. Well, you guys hear it from Sadiq and from your man Alan B. Gammons Jr. Whether you guys are buying or selling a home, I'm your guy. Every Tuesday, you guys go ahead, Experiences with Sadiq, where we communicate with those that are in the industry and they sharing their thoughts and their process as they go along in the industry. You guys know what it is, where communication is key. Advocate for the people's bliss and knowledge. It's inspiring. Thank you, Alan. Talk to you soon.
Enjoy your day. Take care.
You too, brother.